The ballroom shimmered with golden lights, every crystal chandelier reflecting off the marble floors like stars scattered across the heavens. Guests dressed in designer suits and sparkling gowns filled the room, each carrying whispers, curiosity, and judgment in their eyes. This wasn't just any wedding, it was a merger, a deal disguised as a celebration. At the altar stood Adrian Hale, a young but powerful CEO, known in the business world as cold, ruthless, and untouchable. He was a man who had built empires with his sharp mind and iron will. But today, he stood stiff, his jaw locked, his expression unreadable. He hadn't wanted this. The marriage wasn't his choice, it was orchestrated by his influential family, designed to bind two empires together. Adrian, always the man in control, felt betrayed by his own blood. They promised him the bride was suitable, but they never allowed him to meet her properly before the ceremony. The rumors swirled like poison in his ears. She's ugly, her face was scarred in an accident. The Hales must be desperate to accept such a bride. Poor Adrian, the man of every woman's dream, trapped with someone undesirable. He sat rigidly, fingers tightening into fists, anger and humiliation gnawing at him. The thought struck him like a blade, was I tricked? Did they hide her from me for this reason? Then the music shifted. A hush fell over the crowd as the doors opened. The bride entered, draped in an elegant white gown, the silk flowing like liquid moonlight. But her face, her most important feature, was hidden beneath a heavy veil. The whispers grew louder, harsher. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Every step she took toward him felt like a test of his patience. His pride roared inside. Why hide her face unless there was something to hide? She walked gracefully, head lowered, her hands clutching her bouquet tightly as if shielding herself from the venomous stares around them. To the crowd, she was a mystery. To Adrian, she was an unwanted risk. By the time she reached him at the altar, the tension was unbearable. The priest began the vows, and Adrian forced the words out, each one tasting like bitterness. His mind, however, was elsewhere. He could barely hear the ritual, all he could think about was the veil. That thin fabric seemed to mock him, teasing him with secrets he wasn't sure he wanted to discover. The ceremony moved forward. The moment of truth was drawing near. And deep inside, Adrian was convinced. I've been trapped in a game I never agreed to play. The priest's voice echoed across the silent hall. You may now kiss the bride. All eyes turned toward Adrian. He hesitated, his heart thudding painfully against his ribs. This was it, the moment everyone had been waiting for. The whispers, the laughter, the judgments, all would be confirmed or denied with the lift of a veil. His hand rose slowly, deliberate and reluctant. He touched the thin fabric, his fingers trembling for the first time in years. Power and control had always defined him, yet now he felt powerless. Every guest leaned forward, breaths held. Adrian braced himself, prepared to see the so-called ugliness that had been painted into his imagination. But the instant the veil was lifted, the entire room gasped. She wasn't ugly, she wasn't scarred, she wasn't even ordinary, she was stunning. Her eyes shone like jewels, soft but filled with quiet strength. Her skin glowed under the golden lights, flawless and radiant. Her lips curved into a gentle smile, not forced, but full of dignity. She stood tall, composed, even under the weight of 1,000 doubting stares. Adrian froze, his breath caught in his throat. For a man who prided himself on being unshaken, he suddenly felt weak. His mind screamed, this can't be real. The guests murmured in disbelief. She's beautiful, how could anyone say otherwise? Was this all a trick? A lie? For the first time in years, Adrian's confidence cracked. His arrogance faltered. He realized then that he had been the fool, not her. He had doubted her worth, doubted her existence, without even knowing her. The priest's words pulled him back, urging him to complete the ceremony. Adrian's gaze, however, never left her. His earlier anger seemed childish, his suspicions cruel. Shame tugged at him, but more than that, awe filled him. He leaned closer, not to kiss her lips but to whisper, why did they lie? Her smile didn't falter. She said nothing, only held his gaze with a strength that unnerved him. It was as if she knew more than he did, as if she had accepted her fate while he was still struggling. In that moment, Adrian realized the truth. This woman was not a trap. She was not a burden. She was something far more dangerous to a man like him. She was a mirror, exposing the cracks in his pride. When he kissed her hand softly before the audience, the whispers shifted. They were no longer mocking him. They were admiring her. And Adrian knew, his world had just changed forever. The reception glowed with laughter, music, and champagne glasses clinking in celebration. But Adrian couldn't shake the storm inside him. His mind replayed the moment of revelation again and again, the veil lifted, her beauty unveiled, the crowd stunned. As the festivities continued, he pulled her aside, away from the noise. They stood on the balcony overlooking the city skyline, the night breeze tugging gently at her veil now draped behind her. He looked at her, really looked, and asked quietly, "Tell me the truth. Why did they say you were ugly? Why hide yourself behind lies?" She met his gaze calmly, her voice soft but firm, "Because power makes enemies. My family has rivals who feared this marriage, who feared what would happen if our names were joined. So, they spread rumors. They wanted you to reject me before you ever knew me. They wanted to break this before it began." Adrian felt the weight of her words. He clenched his fists, not at her, but at the realization that he had been manipulated so easily. He, the man who could see through lies in the boardroom, had doubted the one person who stood innocently before him. Guilt pricked at him, but admiration bloomed stronger. Here was a woman who had endured cruelty, mockery, and slander, yet she stood tall, unbroken. She hadn't flinched when the world doubted her. She hadn't tried to prove herself desperately. She simply allowed the truth to reveal itself when the time came. For a man like Adrian, who measured worth in money, power, and appearances, this was humbling. He spoke slowly, almost against his nature. "I judged you before I knew you. I believed them, and for that, I owe you more than an apology." She tilted her head slightly, her expression softening. "What matters is that you see me now, not as they described me, but as I truly am." In that moment, something inside Adrian shifted. The marriage that began as a transaction no longer felt like a burden. It felt like destiny. He realized that beauty wasn't just in her face, it was in her strength, her grace, her resilience. And though he would never admit it aloud to the world, he felt something rare, vulnerability. When they returned to the hall, the whispers of doubt had vanished. The guests now admired her, praising her elegance and composure. Adrian held her hand tighter, not out of obligation, but choice. And deep inside, he made a silent vow, "This isn't just a deal anymore. This is the beginning of something I never expected."